Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. I hope you're having a good day. I was reminded earlier today of a fighter who I first saw back in 1990. He came to England and fought Kirkland Lang at the Royal Albert Hall. And Kirkland Lang, at the time, I mean, he was one of those enigmas when you talk about British fighters who never won world titles but are, renowned as being, the best British fighter never to win a world title. We think of Harold Graham. Kirkland would be in the mix because he had some tremendous talent, very unique talent. Beat Roberto Duran famously. That was his best win. Twice fought Colin Jones for the British title and got knocked out. I think in both fights they were ninth round knockouts. But Kirkland was, Jamaican, very, very sort of really weird style. He used to stand side on with his hands down low, daring people to hit him. I remember when he fought George Collins, he just embarrassed George, stopped him in 5 rounds. But anyway, the point is, in 1990, I think it was January or February 1990, early 1990, he was at the Albert Hall and he fought an American by the name of Buck Smith. Now, some of you will know of Buck Smith, who had this incredible record. I'll go into that in a moment. But Kirkland was doing his thing with Smith. This was the first time I'd ever seen Smith fight. He had this ridiculous record. Like I say, I'll go into that in a minute. But he was standing side on, dropping his hands, making Smith miss until the 7th round went bang. Smith landed an almighty right hand and flattened Kirkland unceremoniously. And Kirkland was flying at the time. I mean, he came in with like 35 wins and I think 6 defeats. A draw. Was there a draw? I can't remember. Maybe there might have been a draw on his record, but he was being talked of as a world title challenger, and suddenly it's all gone out the window because Buck Smith, with one big right hand, has flattened him. Now, Buck Smith, I then, after that victory, that was probably the best victory of his career for Smith. But Buck Smith was an incredible journeyman fighter who finished his career, this is according to BoxRec, with 183 wins, 121 knockouts in the win column, 20 defeats, and I think at least 10. Well, I think he might have lost his last 10 or something like that. 20 defeats with 9 stoppages and a couple of draws. But if you look at his BoxRec record, there are like a slew of fights that were no contests because there was a lot of, Buck Smith, he fought under different names sometimes. His record is definitely, I mean, those figures are legitimate, but whether they're exact or not is another matter because he was a very shady guy. He'd fight club shows. Towards the end of his career, he actually was fighting some pretty decent people. He fought Harold Brazier, I think, 2 or 3 times, who was a very good fighter from the late 80s, early 90s. He fought Chavez, Julio Cesar Chavez Sr., got stopped in 3 rounds there. Even fought Antonio Margarito, got stopped in 6. So he was fighting very good men towards the end of his career. He did have a very good win over a guy called Robert Wangila, who was, where was he from? Was it Kenya? No, not Ghana, Kenya. I think it was Kenya. Was it Nairobi? Anyway, Wangila is quite a tragic figure because he died young. But he was an Olympic gold medalist. I think he turned pro with Top Rank in the late 80s, but he never fulfilled his potential and he died young. And he came with a glossy record, 19 wins and 1 defeat, and got flattened in 2 rounds by Buck Smith. So Smith had the ability to spring upsets, but he did have this sort of shady-ish reputation of, not all of the victories were considered legitimate, not all of them. However, I'll give you a couple of examples of the sort of that sum up Buck Smith perfectly. He once fought twice in one day, and that was in May of 1992. So he won a 2-round decision in Kansas City. No, it's 2-round KO, in Kansas City. Then got in his car, drove all the way to Oklahoma City and won a 6-round decision. And that was on the same night. And on one occasion, he fought 12 times in 1 month. and he won all 12 by knockout against low-level guys. I mean, don't get me wrong, he was fine. He wasn't fighting killers all the time. But, I mean, by the way, I should point out, these were the days before there were mandatory rest periods for fighters. Okay. That came in the US, I think, in 1996. So prior to that, Smith was like, you got a fight? Yeah, I'll have a fight. Two in one day? No problem. No problem. And he was, you know, a club fighter, a journeyman, call him what you will, very low level of opposition for most of the opponents, but he did step up to world level or fringe world level. And like I say, he got a couple of very good wins. But like I say, if you go on BoxRec, I was looking at it earlier, if you go on BoxRec and have a look at his records, there are a lot of, especially towards, I think, the end of his career, there were a lot of no contests, fights that could not be, there wasn't a lot of providence with them, let's put it that way. They were like, really? You know, so, you know, so, sometimes, I mean, there was a guy called Verdell Smith who he fought twice, and I think both of those are listed as no contests because they just couldn't be verified. And as I said, Harold Brazier was a very good fighter. And I'm sure Smith fought him 2 or 3 times. One of those was a 15-rounder, one of the last 15-round fights. But he's crazy. Buck Smith, go check him out. I'm sure he'll be on you know, YouTube, and go and have a read about him. Entertaining guy. Have Gloves Will Travel. He also fought Buddy McGirt. He lost the decision to Buddy McGirt. You see, when he went in there, Buddy McGirt is a very, very underrated fighter. I think was he a 2-weight world champ? 140 and 147, I think. But he could fight. He could fight. But he's renowned as a trainer. But as a boxer, he was very, very good. And he, you know, Buck Smith took him the 10-round distance back in the mid-90s. So he wasn't a complete, you know, he wasn't a knockover job. To beat him, you had to really beat him. He wasn't going to roll over for you. It wasn't like he was throwing fights. It's just that some of them were such low level, they were like club shows, that they couldn't be verified. But anyway, like I say, his record on BoxRec, regardless of all the no contests, is 183, 20 and 2. That's not a bad career, is it? Not a bad career at all. So kind of a cult figure, Buck Smith. And if you've got any memories of him, if you're of a certain age like I am, you will remember him fighting. Let me know what you think. If you've got any memories of Buck, comments below. Thanks for your time as always. I always appreciate you watching these videos. Please subscribe to the channel if you're new and hit the like button. And thank you very much. I'm looking forward to reading what you've got to say. And yeah, enjoy yourselves. Catch you later. Bye for now.